All right, it is hour number 3. The Big Steve Malzberg Show. Friday edition means we all go home in 1 hour and reconvene on Monday, God willing, at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Tell your friends. But we have a big hour in store for you until then. Coming up in a little while in this half hour, Ryan Riddle, former NFL defensive end for the Raiders, the Jets, the Falcons, the Ravens, and he's a writer and a draft analyst. He writes for the for Bleacher Report. Going to talk about what's going on in Miami with the Dolphins, and then Ruben Navarrete, syndicated columnist. He was with us last week, I think, and we talked about immigration. And he then wrote in his syndicated column, he wrote about his interview with me. So we're going to discuss that today, and we'll go back and forth on that. But right now, folks, there's a movie out there called Blue is the Warmest Color, and it's a film that includes explicit scenes of lesbian lovemaking. And there's something going on here in New York City that is an outrage. Children who would normally need a parent to get into such a movie are being allowed in without a parent. Let's be joined right now by Tim Winter, president of the Parents Television Council. Tim, good to talk to you.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Good day from Los Angeles.
Yeah, well, good day from New York. You got more of the day left. But what's going on here?
Well, basically, you have a theater that is taking the industry's standard for information so that parents can make informed choices about their entertainment choices for their children, their families. And that one theater is deciding not to enforce the standard, the industry standard. The old saying that if a standard is one thing, then a double standard must be twice as good. That seems that if a standard is one thing, then a double standard must be twice as good. That seems age restrictions that go along with an MPAA rating, and just choosing that not to abide by it and declaring themselves to be the better arbiter of who should or should not see the film.
Yeah, well, these ratings then are they voluntary, and what's been the repercussions in the past when theaters, if any, have allowed exceptions to those ratings?
Well, it's very rare that we have an exception, and the whole system was put together back in the 60s. Yes, it is voluntary, and it was kind of a response by the motion picture industry to try to get Washington off their backs. And nobody likes to have Washington on your back. But the whole premise is that if there is content that most parents or many parents would find objectionable for their children to see, what is their remedy? The remedy is a system that is a rating that is supposedly accurate, consistent, and transparent, but there has to be enforcement at the theater, or else the rating is of absolutely no value.
Yeah. Now, this is a theater in Greenwich Village, which might say it all, here in New York City, and it's the IFC Center, and it's I guess the gentleman in charge, Mr. John Vanko, the senior vice president and GM of the IFC Center, said that your group is a group, not your group, but the MPAA is a group that makes recommendations for parents and whoever else wants to listen to them of the ratings. They make judgments for parents across the country and for a wide range of community standards, but there are different perspectives. And our feeling is that for our community, not allowing anyone under 18 to see this film is overly restrictive. Now, again, this is the theme of the movie. To me, cries out for parental guidance. It's a film about a lesbian relationship, but the fact that there's explicit sex in this of any kind, but we're talking about the lesbian sex here, it's a no-brainer. So I am of the opinion all I could gain from this whole situation is that this is part of this man's and this organization, I'm talking about the theater's agenda to push this, lesbian education, if you will, on school kids who ordinarily wouldn't be able to get in to see this movie without their parents.
Yeah, I don't know the intentions, the reasons why this gentleman has made this decision not to enforce the industry's own guidelines. I am less concerned about the gender of the sexual participants than I am about an entire system that if it is going to have integrity, then you need to follow the rules. And who is to say, well, we want mature children to see this? Well, who's going to be the arbiter of who's mature enough to come in to see? And if it's such an important film for some children who are exploring their lives, if it's so important for them to see it, then why are you charging them admission? Why aren't you saying, hey, as a public service, we're going to let people in? It's all about money. They're trying to find ways to, number one, drum up controversy, this faux controversy, and they're doing it in a way that, again, undermines the entire structure of a system that's been in place for going on 50 years that I think most parents in America have come to rely upon.
Absolutely.
And expect some sort of enforcement. What other rules, what other laws do we think that, well, in our community we decide we're not going to enforce such and such a law? How would the traffic system work if certain communities decided only to enforce, take into their own, decision making who they feel should be, allowed to violate a law or not? I mean, it's a principle, and it seems so simple. If it's rated NC-17 and children shouldn't be allowed to see the movie, then it's rated NC-17.
Right.
And it just, I don't know why that seems to escape. The logic seems so simple to me.
We're talking to Tim Winter, president of the Parents Television Council, here on the Steve Malzberg Show, and the fact of the matter is, how based on what do they determine that for their community, quote unquote, as you were alluding to, how could they opt out of this and say, well, our community is different? How do they know the maturity of the children coming in to see it? How do they know how they'll be affected by it? How do they know anything about these kids?
The answer is they don't, and they can't, and they couldn't. It's interesting. The movie has apparently a 15-minute sex scene, a 15-minute long sex scene. One of the actresses in the film actually said that she felt like a prostitute for having been the way she was treated and the way she made the movie. All of this smacks as desperation. But it's critically acclaimed. Well, there's a lot of things that are critically acclaimed.
Right.
Is that the metric by which now we say you don't have to follow the rules? It just comes back to a principle. There was about a year ago there was a controversy about a movie that was about bullying. It was called Bully, B-U-L-L-Y, Bully, and it was rated R because it had a large number of F-bombs in it. And the MPAA followed the rules and said, well, it has this many F-bombs and it's an R-rated movie. Well, there was this outcry saying, well, this movie is too important for children not to see. Well, who decides it's who's the arbiter of it's too important for children not to see it? And shouldn't that be the parents' role? And so they said, well, we need to rate it PG-13, even though it qualifies as an R because it's too important of a topic. Again, you're talking about a double standard, totally upending the structure of a system that parents rely upon, and that they know that the theater owners are going to enforce when an underage kid tries to buy a ticket to a movie they're not supposed to be able to see.
Yeah, just crazy stuff. I guess the moral is here, just parents have to be parents and can't rely on the school or on the theater or on anybody else. You got to know what your kids are doing, but it doesn't excuse this theater here in New York City in Greenwich Village.
And I hope your listeners in New York will decide to take their ticket, their movie watching elsewhere, just to let the theater know, you know what, we're going to vote with our wallets and we're going to go watch a movie somewhere else, not you, if you're not going to enforce the rules.
All right, Tim, your group does great work. Thank you for being with us. Tim Winter, president of the Parents Television Council. We'll speak to you again, sir.
Thanks, Steve.
Bye-bye. All right, folks, very, very interesting. All right, when we come back, Ryan Riddle, former NFL defensive end. You read him now, a columnist for Bleacher Report. He's going to talk to us about the Dolphins situation and the report that Tony Dorsett has been diagnosed with a brain problem, just another in a long list. We'll talk about all of that. And at the bottom of the hour, Ruben Navarrete. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.